It's not here to remind me to hit record. Okay, so happy St. Patrick's Day. Really excited for this call. I'm always really excited for these calls. These are like my favorite hour of the week. I love hearing how you guys are all doing and the check-ins. And tonight we're going to talk about like micronutrients and kind of like nutrition beyond macros. So that's going to be really fun too. So we'll get to that after we hear some check-ins from everybody. I'll answer all your questions. Mary, I know you emailed me a couple questions, and if you have those, I would love to kind of answer most of them for
Yeah.
the
Okay.
if you could pull them up, otherwise I can pull up your
No,
email.
I remember them. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, cool. Why don't you just start, Mary? Give us like a
Okay.
check-in. How's everything going? How's your back feeling?
Yeah.
And,
Well, unfortunately, I told Annie, and I think I put this on the thing, but BB, you'll love this. So I finally went to an orthopedic doctor, and my number 4, 5, 6, and 7 vertebrae in my neck are shot. Like they're literally shot. If you saw the X-ray, you would die. He said you had to have had an injury, and I said no, I've never had an injury. So it's just years of stress, physical stress, probably due to my computer and emotional stress, and I have like like bone growth spurs on each of them.
mm,
It was really tough. I got that diagnosis. So I'm on like some prednisone and some muscle relaxers, and I start physical therapy on Thursday. But what it did do for me, it kind of reinforced my why. Like I've let my whole life, this goes back to this group. Um, I put myself at the bottom of the totem pole my entire life. Work, family, friends, everybody else has always come first, and I've never taken care of myself. And it really has just kind of hit me. Like, and he said, if I continue this, I'm 55, like at 75, I won't be able to walk, so, or like even function. So, I think it really like kind of hit me between the eyes. And so that was good. So I'm feeling better because I'm on prednisone for a couple more days. But I've been really trying to hit the macros. And so the competitiveness in me and the analytical part of me love it,
mhm,
but it drives me crazy because I don't know if the rest of you like I will like do really well for breakfast, and then I'm doing really well for lunch, and I upgraded to premium because it's been a really big help for me because it was too much trying to like, do it manually, and I just needed more of that automation, and so I did that. But then what I find is like I'm hitting my macros, but then I'm under my calories or I'm over on something. And so then I introduce another food, and then I'm kind of stressing a little bit about how I do that. So a couple of my questions are, is it more important to hit your calorie count and your macro, or to your calorie count and be like under your macros,
mhm,
but still be like within the ranges? Or is it more important to hit your macros and be maybe over your calorie count?
mhm,
And then if so, like I was even Googling, like how close do you need to be? Like, what does it mean to hit your macros?
mhm,
So that's
mhm,
that's one of my things. And I've realized I'm not that person that can eat the same thing every day.
mhm.
I can't, so that's my biggest challenge is I'm good at tracking it and figuring it out, but every day it's like this laborious process,
Mhm. Yeah.
so that's what I have to figure out. And then the other thing is just, alcohol conversion. Like I've got to figure that out. I've just been putting that in my fitness pal, and
Mhm.
you probably think I have a like drinking problem. I don't, but
No.
I just really love my wine.
Sure. No, I'll tell
I
you a
have a
story about
very
myself that will make you feel better.
I have a very stressful life and career, and so yeah, just trying to
Yeah.
figure out all that.
Mhm. So when I started working out with a trainer, this was about 4 years ago. And I had, I was like, okay, I need like a fresh start. I really want to like get into this. And I wasn't working with him on nutrition or anything, but I was practicing law. I'm from Wisconsin. And he was like, do you think you could maybe not drink every day? And I was like, no, I can't. I'm a lawyer. And it was just, but it was, like one drinkers. And it was just like, to me,
Couple drinks, yeah.
I was like, no, like, no. And then I like thought about it and he's like, well, do you think you could just not drink what the day we're training? Because it's really like negatively affecting all the work you're doing. And I was
Yeah.
like, I'll think about it. Like it was that ingrained in just the culture that I grew up in and both, my industry as a lawyer and like being from Wisconsin, and Wisconsin is just like a heavy drinking culture. And then it just sort of slowly been, less and less and less. And we're going to talk about alcohol tonight. As I learn more about what it does to the body, I'm like, I just don't really choose that.
Right.
But I would never, for my coaching clients, be like, no, it's off limits, because the second it's off limits, that's all you want. Right. So it has to be like, okay, what balancing the pros and the cons, is this really the choice that you want?
Yeah.
Okay. So as for the macros, if you're like, ideally, like you're nailing everything, right? But I mean, that's actually pretty hard to do, as you guys are seeing now. It's like pretty hard to do unless you figure out like the specific food and you eat like a robot every single day. So to be like nailing your macros, I would love to see you like ±3 for fat and ±5 for carbs and protein. That's really pretty tight, right? I mean, that is like gold star. You tell me you did that, I'm going to like immediately send you like a Starbucks gift certificate or something, because that is
it better to be maybe over your macros and under on fat and carbs?
So it kind of depends. And that's like a complicated answer. It's like a lawyer answer. It depends, right? So it's better, definitely better. It kind of depends on your goals and your history. Now, for you, because we're working on building those calories back up, I'd say, go above it, right? And what we're seeing with you right now is your calories are going up and your weight's actually going down a little bit.
It's really weird. I'm more hungry. So I've eaten more in the last week than I have probably the last year in a week. And I'm hungrier, but yet I've lost a couple pounds.
Yeah, that's your hunger hormones are just balancing out and they're turning back on, because they're like, oh, we actually have the fuel to do the things that we need to do now. Like, awesome. So that's fantastic. So like for you and for anyone who's kind of like that, I would say, just hit those macros. If anything, hit the protein. Like say what happens to most people is they go over their carbs earlier in the day and they still need to get the protein. Right? Like no one inadvertently goes way over the protein and is like, oh shoot, I don't have any room for carbs. Like that just doesn't happen that often.
See, I am, because I think I'm so freaking focused on protein that I'm like crazy about it.
Okay, so that's awesome. So I might adjust yours when I look at it tonight or tomorrow and actually ratchet that protein up a little bit. Just to keep kind of moving it up just a little bit. But so if you had excess calories that come from protein, they go to building muscle. Excess calories from carbs or fat are stored as body fat, which is used for a secondary source of fuel. So if you're going to go over in anything, I would hit that protein and go over. If you were like on your protein and you're like gonna need to eat up to the carbs or the fat, I'd probably just be like, how hungry am I? Like, should I just call it a day here or not? If you're hungry and you still have, I need to go over your calories and you're hungry, but you've already like maxed out one of your pillars, one of your macros, and that's going to make you go over your calories, go ahead and eat. But if you're like, okay, I already like hit something and I'm not that hungry, you could just call it a day.
Okay.
So kind of, kind of depends on the situation. Does that, I
Okay.
know that's like a lot of it depends, but does that help?
Yeah, it does. That's
Okay.
what I've been stressing with, I think, the most. Like
Hmm.
last night, I'm like, I was down, and I wasn't hungry, so I started snacking on beef jerky.
Oh, that's a good snack.
Yeah, and then I ate the whole bag.
Yeah. They add a little sugar and some salt,
Yeah,
so that
I
is
know.
kind of addictive. Um, and then oh, the other thing, which you could see pretty often is just like if actually your macros and your calories don't add up.
Yep.
Like if you're exactly on with your macros and MyFitnessPal still says you have 200 calories left or you're 200 calories over, remember that's just from the food labeling that the
Yeah.
laws let the food labels be off. And in that case, go by the macros.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm. And then for alcohol, what you said is just a problem, like having the cart and chart and doing
Well,
it by hand.
so if you like, so I have the premium now, so you
Hmm.
put it in there and it shows as carbs, or I'm sorry, calories, but then
Hmm.
doesn't count as carbs, fat, or so
Hmm.
that's the key, right? So you have to convert it and then like
Yeah.
manually put it
And
in there.
manually enter it. Yeah.
So
So
do you not enter it then in my fitness plan and just create a new one and then put the same amount of calories and then add like carbs or
yeah. So you're gonna like figure out how many calories it is. Either like look it up in MyFitnessPal or use that little chart that I gave you. And that
yeah,
chart also says if you want to count this as carbs, it's this many carbs. If you want to count it as fat, it's this many fat. If you're feeling fancy and good at math and you want to split the carbs and the
that's what I was
fat,
gonna say. So like
yeah.
if I hit my protein, let's say I'm up a little bit on my protein, I'm down on my, this sounds ridiculous, I know. I feel like I'm like a lush that's trying to like manage the system. So if I hit my protein or I'm above and then I have a couple drinks, and I'm below in my carbs and fat, then I can just take the total amount and then split it up.
Yeah, you can split it. So
Okay.
and then you're just gonna have to do some math by hand.
Okay.
So like if you say it's like 200 calories,
Yep.
right? If you split it like 100 and 100, that would be roughly 11 grams of fat because 11 times 9 is like roughly 100, and then 25 grams of carbs.
Okay.
25 times 4 is 100.
Okay.
So you kind of do that math and play around with it to make it
So I've
fit.
got to figure that out. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, you can do that, and then you can create a food and save it. And I like to, whenever I do, my own food, I save it under my own initials. So then, when I'm looking for it in the future, I can just type in my initials, and all the things I've saved come up.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. And I think you had another question about the chickpea pasta.
Oh, yeah. The Bonza.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's great. I mean, it does have slightly higher protein, and I'm, all about protein. I don't think that, unless you're actually gluten intolerant or have sensitivity to gluten, there's nothing wrong with regular pasta.
Okay.
But if you're trying to hit those macros and like living that protein life, it's a great option.
Okay.
Whole wheat pasta tends to have like slightly higher protein as well.
Okay.
And I'm going to talk about foods that cause inflammation tonight, and gluten is one of them. So like, might be doing like a week or two of just like eliminating things to see how it affects your body.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it's a great option, but there's
Okay.
also, in my opinion, nothing wrong with regular pasta too.
Okay.
Mhm. Um, okay, was that all your questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, awesome. You're welcome. Okay, Michelle, how about you?
So my week went pretty good.
Awesome.
Tracking is good. I like this weekend and the last couple days, I have just been hungry. And so I make sure that like if I'm hungry, it's like, well, did I eat a snack? And if not, I go for like, a protein heavy snack. So a yogurt or beef jerky.
Mhm.
Um, or I also have like I have some like to go protein shakes that are like 30 grams of protein. And I feel like I drink one of those and it's like I didn't even have anything and I'm still hungry. So I don't know if it's because that particular snack is not very fulfilling or if I'm just like burning through and plowing through stuff. But
Yeah.
I've also finally like feel like I'm starting to lose
Yeah, I
pounds a
saw
little bit. So
that.
I'm like, okay, well maybe this is just I'm finally burning stuff.
It's
Um,
definitely your metabolism is ramping up. I also find that if I'm hungry, a protein shake will do nothing. Like I will chug it, like 400 calories of a protein shake, and I'll be like, okay, what's next? So I really recommend. I love protein shakes and for my clients, but it's not a good option if you're already feeling hungry. It's just there's something about it that like it's quickly digested, it's easily absorbed, which is great. But I think if you combine a little bit of fat and a little bit of carbs like in that snack, that'll make you feel more satisfied and more full while you're still getting the protein as well. Like like a half a sandwich, like an open faced sandwich or like a piece of bread with some cheese and like lots of meat, you can still get that protein and it'll feel more full and satisfied than drinking a protein shake. Something like that with a little more carbs and fat. You might just need to like readjust your meals the rest of the day though. But yeah, that's awesome. I saw on your check-in sheet that the scale's starting to move a little. We got it. That's awesome. Okay, cool. And you've been getting your steps are way up too.
Yep. And stress is a lot better. I think I had a log jam of stress that like broke last week. So feeling a lot better this week.
That also could have to do with your hunger too. Like, your body might just be like, oh, okay, now we're ready to get everything moving again, kind of.
Michelle, what are your steps? Are you doing 10,000?
On the weekends, I usually go up to 12. But I'm averaging like 6,500 kind of in there.
Okay.
Like if I do the week average, I'm over 6,000 steps a day.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
But I schedule walks with friends on the weekend. So that helps.
That's really, and when we started, you was like, okay, my goal is to get like 2,000 to 3,000 steps. So like your average has gone way up. And I love that scheduling walks with friends instead of like a coffee date or like drinks or something, because you still get the time with friends and get that steps in. That's awesome. Okay. Any questions? Anything else?
Nope.
No? Okay. Awesome. Great week. I'm so proud of you. All right. Ambria, how about you?
I think it would go well if I did it. So I know what I have to do. I have that part I feel like figured out. I just, get busy and like didn't manage to get to the grocery store this week. So everything is, last night I picked up fast food for everybody and, so it's more just the planning and the doing, and blocking my calendar. I mean, I'll go, today I realized it was 3:00 and I hadn't eaten and all I had was a frozen pizza, right? So it's the planning. So I know what I have to do. It's just a matter of, I think, doing it and making for it. But I also am from Wisconsin and I had, before I got married, a personal trainer, and I'd go to happy hour and then go to Lifetime for the personal trainer.
No.
Obviously didn't lose much weight, and thought I was very funny. But it just, it didn't work out. So at least I figure I'm not doing that this go around. But yeah, I have to just do it. I think it's a big thing.
Yeah, it really is like the planning. If you can get the week started off right by, planning and getting groceries, it makes a world of difference. Cause otherwise you're just like behind the ball all week, and then, like you said, you end up getting fast food, you're probably hungry. So you're making the choice that sounds like the most appealing rather than like what is the best choice. Do you schedule in your calendar time to eat?
No.
That I schedule in breakfast and lunch. And before I used to be always like eat while I'm working, and it would be like always, kind of random. So that's something, just put that on your calendar, 15, 20, 30 minutes for you to sit down and eat. And it will really help. It's not that much time. You need a break anyway from working all day. Okay.
Andrea, do you online shop? Because I don't have time either. And so I've been doing the online shopping and it's really helped me.
Yeah, I have. And even it's like just the laziness, right? Like I'm so tired by 9 o'clock. I'm like, oh, I'll just binge on Netflix, or I could go on and order the food for delivery. So it's just not making it's the choice. But then today it's like it's either eat nothing or eat something really unhealthy. And I went
I get it.
I'm like, I have to choose one. But no, I should, it's almost like I have a list of things I should do and know I should do. I just have to do that.
So what's stopping you?
Well, in the morning, I don't want to get up earlier, right? Like I get up earlier to eat and do that. And I think you're right on the scheduling. I haven't blocked my calendar. So, I'm just in meetings from 9 a.m. until 5. It's just getting up and doing it or finding the food, or I'll go off camera if I have food to eat. I'd say the biggest thing though is I just have to go buy the food.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I should just have it delivered.
Yeah. Have you used Instacart?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that's amazing. It still takes a little bit to order it, but it's way less energy than going to the grocery store. Like less time, less energy. It's well worth, I think, the fee. And then it will like remember what you ordered. So it'll be like, do you want to order this again? Like, yes, I do. So that's really helpful. But yeah, I think just set aside that initial chunk of time to plan your meals and order your groceries, like for the week, if you can tomorrow, otherwise, Saturday or Sunday. And then in that same time, just like block off your time to eat. You deserve to eat. You do. You deserve like time to sit down and eat some nourishing food.
Today I'm going to eat it, right?
Yes. And we'll all celebrate. Okay. So there's your homework. Block off time to plan and order your groceries, and every day to eat breakfast and lunch. Anything else? No. Okay. Okay. Awesome. How about BB? How about you?
Hello. So I think my biggest thing is I'm keeping track of stuff. I'm planning more, which I got this cute little pad that sort of has all the different things on it. So that's helpful because I like to buy those little things that make me think I'm going to be motivated to do more. So we'll see how that goes. But so I'm getting that. I'm not obsessing about not being perfect with it, which is a win. And I'm getting there. So I think that's okay. It's okay that I'm not doing it all right now, which is a win.
It's totally okay. It's totally a win. And you're seeing so many results while not being perfect.
Yes. Yes. And I'm feeling, I'm okay with it. Because normally I would just be like, oh, forget it. I'm not going to do it. So I'm not going to do it. It's just going to be another failure. So forget it. Just do what you do. And so that's better.
That's awesome.
The trip, the one thing that was different on the trip coming back, and you reminded me, I ate beef jerky for the first time in probably 20 years. It was delicious, but I forgot that I ate it, so I have to add that to my thing. But I didn't plan well enough for the trip home because we were a little bit rushed and it was pretty much a whirlwind weekend. And so instead of eating crap all the way home, I just didn't eat very much. but I had some bars with me, and so I ate that stuff. So my calories were way down, but I didn't just succumb to eating crap. So that was sort of a win. And I drank a
Yeah.
lot of water. So one totally creepy thing though. Okay. So I'm in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, which is not exactly the hub of healthy eating, right? Or macro counting or anything like that. So I'm in my hotel room the first night I'm there, second night I'm there. And I turned on the TV, the Weather Channel came on, a commercial came on, and it was what's her name? I can't remember, actress. And the ad was for that collagen powder that I'd
Oh,
never heard of or seen before you guys, that blue, the little blue jar.
Vital proteins or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. So Apple's listening to everything we're saying. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, it really is.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
'Cause I never pulled it. I brought it with me, and it was sitting on the table, but I didn't say its name.
Oh my gosh.
And it's on TV in Oak Ridge.
That's amazing and really creepy.
Really creepy, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
not me.
No, that's really creepy. I've had friends who swear like they just thought about something and it like popped into their like social media feed.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about, I feel like you had some other sort of like learning lessons from the regatta, like planning to take care of yourself and not just the athletes.
Yeah, I made sure that I got enough sleep. I mean, my
That's
thing with
huge.
them is this was a unique situation because a lot of these guys had never been on a trip with us before because, they're sophomores and didn't have a freshman season.
Mhm.
And so 3/4 of them had never put on a Badger uniform before.
Was
So,
it just varsity or was it? not
well, it was
varsity?
varsity, but we had freshmen and sophomores in there. We took
Okay.
30 women.
Oh, wow.
So, what I normally do is micromanage that situation. And I know that that's not the best thing to do, but I just feel like I have to cover all those bases. But, I've got a great group. I've got a great group of seniors that are really taking care of business that they need to take care of. So I don't have to worry about taking care of it for them.
Mhm.
And we had to get tested every day. And it was, there was a lot. But I just made sure I got enough sleep. I made sure I ate every meal, which never happened. In fact, our athletic trainer usually brings me lunch because she knows I never eat.
Uh-huh.
Because she just brings me food.
Did she notice? She was like, what's going on with you? You
She did, which is good.
know?
Because she was pretty busy too. But yeah, it was very stressless, which in a very stress-inducing situation, it just wasn't.
Mhm.
And a lot of that's just the decisions that I've made. The decisions I've made that have gotten me to be sitting here with all of you guys
Mhm.
going through this together. So
That's good. And I know you brought some bands along. Were you able to get a workout or two in?
no,
Okay.
that was
I know what regattas are like.
I was exhausted, and I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I walked a lot.
Yeah.
So I got 2 12,000 step days in,
Mhm.
which were negated by the car rides, the 12-hour car rides.
Right. But still that averages out to like 6,000 steps a
Right.
day, which is not bad at all.
Right.
Mhm.
So, no, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I
That's
had to be.
awesome. And I mean, and the reason I'm asking so many questions is because I know your job and I know like this is not a one-off occurrence. Like this is your life for
Yeah.
months on end is regatta. So like really figuring out how to master them and take good care of yourself and taking good care of your athletes, like it's going to be super clutch.
Yeah.
So awesome. Good job with that.
Can I ask a question, BB? So are you increasing your calories too? I mean, if you weren't eating, okay. Yeah, is it? It's
I would
interesting,
eat
isn't
nothing
it?
all day and then eat a 1,000-calorie frozen pizza.
Yeah.
Which sounds like a lot to eat a pizza in one setting, but that's 1,000 calories a day.
Right.
That,
Right.
Right.
like almost nothing. Yeah.
So I realized that I'm not eating enough calories most of the time, you know, and protein was not a thing at all because I love carbs. So
Yeah. So you guys are kind of in the same
Me
boat
too.
where we're ramping those calories up after years of not eating enough.
yeah.
Yeah, I see that so often, especially, I mean, it's a woman thing. Like we're brainwashed, you know, and programmed to like cut calories and put ourselves last. And that combination is yikes.
And being postmenopausal, you know, I just figured that my body didn't handle that very well. Neither did I, but my body didn't. And you know, I just thought it doesn't matter what I do.
Mm.
It doesn't matter what I do or what I eat or what I don't eat. It is what it is, and there's nothing I can do about it. So probably some of that is true, but not all of it.
No, and in a few weeks from now, not tonight, but in either like next week or the week after, we're gonna do a whole session on women's cycle stuff, including after menopause, perimenopause, and like if you're still getting your cycle. And you know, a lot of the stuff is what I'm saying because these like principles like still apply, especially protein. But I'm gonna like have some more gems for postmenopause, if you're going through menopause, if you're approaching menopause, and you know, if you're still just getting a normal cycle. So that should help too, even more. Okay.
One question.
Yeah.
So if I get a meal, like I went to Forge today, got a really great protein salad-y thing, but there's no way to break out the macros in it. So what do I do with that?
I would just estimate the best guess that you can. Like if you think there's like maybe 4 ounces of chicken or 8 ounces of chicken, just put in, you know, kind of the ingredients and like whatever the salad dressing is, and just give it your best approximation.
Okay.
Yeah. That happens a lot with eating out. It's tough, but we just do the best we can. In a perfect world, we could cook all our meals at home or have a personalized chef, but we don't live that way. Okay. Last but not least, Miss Laura, how are you doing?
Hi. I'm doing pretty good. I've noticed a trend the last 2 weeks. I do really, really good on the weekdays. And then I'll let some little things slip me up on the weekend. And then because it's weekend, I have a hard time like turning on my mindset. Like just let it, you know, like just get back on the horse, keep going. But instead I'll binge on Girl Scout cookies. That's what it was this week. So one of my goals for the week is to really try to like budget enough for treats so that I don't feel like I'm being deprived. And I don't really feel like I'm being deprived, but something must be, because I'm like, cookies, rah, you know. So I don't know what that is, but I'm trying to pay attention to it this week. I also finished the box of Toast Yays, the new cookies. They're delicious.
The new ones.
And now they're gone. So that won't be a problem anymore.
Not a problem anymore.
One kind of mental shift that I had this week was, instead of like setting a goal of, you know, drink at least 64 ounces of water a day and then not hitting it, I instead just told myself when I was filling out my thing, I was like, nope, instead of I'm going to try to hit 64 ounces of water today, I am a person who drinks 64 ounces of water. And so now I just do it. And so it's only been a couple days of like that mental shift, but just like, no, you are a person who drinks this whole freaking thing of water every single day. And if you don't, then you need to finish it before you go to bed and just be done. The goal ultimately is 100 ounces, but I figured if I can at least do this, then I'm starting somewhere, because so that has kind of helped. And then another thing too, I got my Apple Watch broke, but Ariel suggested this. It was only $23 on Amazon, and I like it way better than my Apple Watch because it doesn't buzz at me every time my phone buzzes. It's great.
Oh, that's
What is
amazing.
it?
I don't even know. I'll put the link in the
Okay.
So
I
she
need one
sent
too.
a text last week that said that that's what she bought, and it happened to be like on a $6 discount too, so I got it for 23 bucks. It looks like a Fitbit, but it's not, but it's really easy to work. So that was kind of interesting too, because in my head I've been telling myself that I'm really lazy and that I don't move enough, but I know that my energy has increased because I'm not hitting that afternoon slump as much as I used to. And so it's kind of hard to tell, to be like, okay, was my Apple Watch, like, are my paces off? Because I'm getting so many steps since I bought this compared to like this fall where I wasn't getting as many steps, but I was also taking like a good hour nap every day. So I'm not sure where I'm at there, but I was like, okay, you're not as lazy as you think you are, because your thing is telling me that I'm walking a lot, like 2,000 steps just before my kids get on the bus in the morning, which is insane. So I think I'm doing pretty good. I also had the realization too last week, because like when something about last week, like everybody was talking, I was like, oh, I have something to say. I have a tip. And I kept wanting to like throw in my tips. And so I just wrote down to myself, you know what to do, so follow your own tips. And I made that little note, and I've just kind of kept coming back to that, like, just like grow up and and stop making some of the same excuses. Because I mean, I've been giving Annie kind of a lot of excuses, like September through January. So when they start coming up again, like seriously, stop and do the thing that you would tell somebody else to do.
All the things for sure. And I love that mindset shift of I am a person who, and you can, I mean, the way we talk to ourselves 500,000 times a day, it really, really matters. And I mean, the same thing with like, I'm a person who drinks water all day. Same thing, Laura, you are an active person. Like I mean, I kind of want to give you guys all homework to make like one or two of these mantras and literally write it on Post-its and put it where you're going to see it, like your bathroom mirror, on your planner, something like that. Like, I am an active person. I'm a person who always eats protein at every meal. Like, I am a person who loves to get up early, or, whatever it is that you're working on, do that shift and say it until you see it happen. And it's true. It's just like the you that's emerging for sure. Girl Scout cookies have been a problem for all my clients this week. Everyone.
Little. That's the problem.
You don't like them? Oh, you're lucky.
You just want to eat them all.
I have definitely in the past eaten an entire sleeve of Thin Mints in one.
Yeah, easy.
Easy.
I donated all mine. I bought them and then donated them.
Oh, that's
good.
That's
hey, Laura,
really
I wanted to just mention something. So I had a really early evening today. I had to terminate an employee with a client. Then I had to deal with a bad employee issue. And then I had to deal with a very bad client issue, all before like 1 p.m. And you know what? I was so exhausted. I think about you with your children and everything. And I just said, screw it. I'm setting my alarm. I'm out of office. I took a nap with my dog on my couch. Like, don't feel guilty about that. And that's not being lazy. Like, you are just re-energizing yourself. And I'm trying to get better at that myself. And I'm 55. So it's taken me a long time to get here. But my God, like, we deserve that. And it puts you in a better mindset. So anyway, just had to say that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, that's so good. I love it. Yes, we deserve rest. We deserve nourishment. We deserve food. We deserve time to eat. We deserve rest. And we deserve to listen to our bodies. Oh, one thing I want to say about Girl Scout cookies before we move on, or any other trigger, treat that you guys have. I was listening to a podcast that I love. It's sort of like a nerdy gym rat podcast, but these guys are really, really well informed. It's called Mind Pump Muscle Media or something. And they're talking about training women over 40. And I was listening to it and I was like, oh, at first I was like, that's really old. And then I was like, I'm turning 40 in like 3 months. That's not just like my clients, that is me, not that it's really old, but I was like, oh, I should listen to this for my clients kind of. And then I was like, girl, like look in the mirror, like time to listen to it. But they're just talking about training women in their 40s. And what I loved about it was they were saying that working with women in their like 40s and 50s are like the best age group to work with because as opposed to men, they listen and they don't try to like do everything on their own. And that, when you're in your like 20s and early 30s, you just think you can just like bounce back from everything. And you can bounce back a little bit more in your 20s and 30s, but in your 40s and 50s, like people are ready to be consistent, like ready to actually listen and do the work. And I'll share that if anyone wants to listen to it. It was really good. And also it made me feel good because they were saying the exact same things that I preach all the time: protein and water and rest and strength training and stuff like that. But they were talking about treats that kind of like trigger you to like binge or like are kind of addictive. And they like agreed with what I said, that like if you make it off limits or like a no, then the way our minds work, that's all you want, right? You're super focused on the thing you can't have. And then you finally break down your willpower and you have the thing, and then you feel bad or naughty or shameful. And then you end up having way more of it because, it's like
what the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what they suggested was just having like a barrier to the thing. So the example that he gave was like one of his clients loved these chocolate bars. And he said, you know what, you can have the chocolate bar whenever you want, but you can't buy them ahead of time. Like you have to want it bad enough to get in your car and drive to the store and buy it. And it worked great because she did still have it, but like a lot less frequently because it was just like a little barrier. And with the Girl Scout cookies, which has honestly been coming up with every single one of my clients, I was thinking, now that it's warmer, what if those kind of treats were just in your car, right? Instead of in the kitchen. And there was like a bag in the trunk with the treats. And if you really wanted it, it's there, but you have to put on your shoes and go out to the car to get them, like one serving at a time. Michelle said she's hiding Girl Scout cookies and Chicago mix from me. Yeah, because this food, this Chicago mix, which is also one of my favorites, Girl Scout cookies, like any of these treats, they're hyper palatable. They're, I don't want to say genetically engineered, but they're like engineered to be high in fat, high in salt, high in sugar, stripped of nutrients so they don't actually fill you up. And they're designed to make you crave and want to binge on them. So, without making them completely off limits, if there's just some barrier that you can set up, like your spouse hiding them or putting them in the car or just not buying them in advance, that can be really helpful too. They are very good at their jobs. They're very good at their jobs. Yes. Does anyone else do that already or have like little tricks that they kind of like play on themselves of the treats, hiding the treats? No. Another one I do is just not opening them. The one box of Girl Scout cookies that we opened were gone, like bow. And the other one, I'm just playing a game of like, it's not open. So it's almost like breaking a $20 or $100 bill, like you don't want to break it. Then once you do, you're like, oh, I don't know where that money went. Okay. We have this night is flying by. Does anyone, I'm going to switch to kind of talking about micronutrients. Does anyone have any last thoughts or suggestions or questions or anything else before I do that? No? Okay, cool.
I have one thing.
Yes.
I came across this playlist on Spotify and it's hilarious and amazing and great to walk to. And it's called Hot Girl Walk.
Okay.
And it's so good. Like just search it. It's like a blue background with a girl and then pink Hot Girl Walk. And it's just songs that like make you clip right along.
Oh, that's amazing.
And dirty. Don't let like your children hear. Well, my children
Okay.
hear.
Good to know. Okay, awesome. I'll see if I can find that and I'll put it in the Facebook group too. I can usually share this. Oh, you found it already, Mary? Awesome. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So we're going to talk about micronutrients tonight. We've been really focused on macronutrients, hitting our macros, our protein, carbs, and fat, and that's awesome. But it's not like the end all be all of healthy eating and optimizing the nourishment that we put in our bodies. And I love this picture. Just as an example, this doesn't say that their macros are the same, but like you could imagine that the calories in these two pictures are the same. You could imagine that the macros are as well, right? So like a Big Mac and something else and some fries and a soda and that's it. Or all this delicious food with lots of nutrients, lots of vitamins and minerals, and will be really nourishing and fulfilling. So I want to go through a couple different like aspects of really getting the most out of micronutrients in the food that we eat. So the first thing is I mentioned this before, but the thermogenic effect of food. This is a way to actually boost your metabolism by the food that you choose to eat. Like regardless of if the calories are the same, the macros are the same, some foods are going to actually boost your metabolism. And that's because whole food takes more work to break down. The more processed the food is, the lower the thermogenic effect. So if you're eating more whole, unprocessed foods, food like that doesn't come in bags, single ingredients foods, all that stuff, it's going to be harder to overeat on it because it's not that hyper palatable, food engineered type of food. It's just like real food from the earth. It's has full of nutrients and lower calories usually. And it takes the body more work to break it down. So just by eating that food is going to boost your metabolism. So I love to think of analogy of like if you're trying to break down two shelves to put them on a bonfire, one is an IKEA shelf and one is like handmade Amish furniture made of whole wood. It's going to be really easy to bust down that IKEA shelf and then put it on the fire, and it's not going to burn that long once you put it on the fire, right? But that other like handmade solid wood shelf from IKEA is going to actually take you a lot of work to bust it down. And that's like the equivalent of your body, like doing the work to make the food into the fuel that it needs. And then when you put it on the fire, it's going to burn for a long time. So that's the same thing with processed food that we eat. It's already kind of processed, so our body doesn't have to do that much work to break it down and digest it. But if you're eating more whole foods, that can help. And this actually like in our body slows down naturally as we age, but you can build it up. It's just like your metabolism or muscle mass. It's kind of like a use it or lose it thing. So it doesn't have to. It's just like you have to work a little bit more intentionally at it as you age. Okay, next is water, the miracle drink. We've been talking about water lots tonight. So water's another one besides basic hydration, obviously, that raises our metabolism. It has that thermic effect. And one reason is because the internal temp of our body is 97.3 degrees-ish. And our body needs to work to bring the water that we drink up to that internal body temp. So it's kind of like the energy that it takes to bring a pot of water to boil. Same thing our body's doing with water that we drink. Not to boil, obviously, but up a little bit. So actually, the colder the water you're drinking, the more it's going to have that effect. It also helps our body deal with stress, digest protein. So as you're eating more protein, drinking more water is going to help digest that and also help with digestion. It's going to help with mental clarity and focus. It's going to help control hunger cravings. A lot of times, has anyone ever experienced that where you feel hungry, but then you have some water and you're like, oh, I was just thirsty? Yeah, happens all the time. Helps keep you regular, as I said, helps with digestion, and then really helps with physical performance. So keep drinking that water. Be a person who drinks all your water every day, and your body does get used to it, by the way. Like, I've had other clients ask me, like, oh, now I have to wake up to go to the bathroom multiple times a night, and then it's disturbing my sleep. And, it takes a little while, but your body does kind of get used to it. But if you can front load the water drinking earlier in the day and, kind of sip it rather than chugging it, that really helps as well. Fiber. So fiber is like in the whole unprocessed food that we're talking about. A lot of it, not meat, and not really in dairy, but any vegetables, any seeds and nuts. Avocados are great sources of fiber. But what fiber really does, it helps with digestion and it helps with fat loss because it binds to fat and gets that out of our bodies. And fat is also where our bodies store a lot of toxin. So by eating the fiber to stay regular, you're helping detox your body naturally. I also recently learned that for women, especially like perimenopause and menopausal women, one of the biggest toxins in our body is excess estrogen. And this is what causes women to have problems. If you've ever heard of anyone being estrogen dominant, it can cause a lot of the common effects of menopause, like, hot flashes, trouble sleeping, and stuff like that. We'll go like all into that when we do our women's cycle night. But one reason that happens is because you're not regular or not going to the bathroom enough. And the estrogen that's like in our digestive system, if it's just sitting there, it gets reabsorbed into the body, and that's how it just like gets to be too much. But if you're staying regular and going pooping regularly, that helps flush the estrogen, the excess estrogen, and other toxins out of the body. So protein's super, super helpful for that. I mentioned this in the beginning, but everyone should be aiming for 20 to 25 grams of fiber every day. As this chart I will post in the Facebook group, it's probably a little hard to see in here, but this is like 20 high fiber foods. But generally, leafy greens, vegetables, seeds and nuts. Avocado is a great option because it's really high in fiber and it's also a good healthy source of fat, which I'm going to talk about next. Okay. I'm going through this pretty quickly. Any questions about anything so far? Water, fiber. Okay. I will post this in the group so you guys can find it. Fats. Okay. So there's a couple options for fats. We've just been talking about fat in terms of the macronutrients, but you can break it down further into healthy fats, AKA the good fats, or unhealthy fats, the bad fats, right? So healthy fats are actually really good for us, help lower the risk of heart disease and stroke, lower the bad LDL cholesterol, and then increase the good LDL. So that should be like, 80% of your diet coming from these like healthy sources of fat. And they come in a couple different options. Monounsaturated, which comes mostly from plants. So that would be like avocado, olives, olive oil, nuts or nut butter, cashews, almonds, peanuts, macadamia nuts, hazelnuts, pecans, or polyunsaturated, which could come from plants or animals. So soy milk or soy, fatty fish is a really great source of this, like salmon, protein, or salmon, tuna, lots of different options, or seeds like flaxseed, pumpkin seeds, any kind of option. Sunflower seeds, now they make sunflower seed butter. And then the last one is medium chain triglycerides, MCTs. So like this has kind of gotten popular lately with like paleo stuff and like all this like biohacking stuff with coconut and coconut oil. So that's a really good source. Also, that's really good for your brain as well. On the other side, we have the bad fats. So this is, they basically do the opposite, raise the LDL cholesterol, lower the good cholesterol, increase risk of heart disease, obesity, and other lifestyle diseases. So this comes in two options: saturated fat, which comes from animals, red meat, chicken skin, butter, dairy, bacon. So just try to eat this in like limited amounts. Coconut is not a good choice. Oh, yeah, coconut's a little, because it's also saturated. So coconut oil is like kind of goes on both lists. So if anyone didn't see the chat, BB said, our cardiologist said that coconut oil is not a good choice for high cholesterol folks. So there's kind of, it's like you can need to kind of decide which group you're in with the like high cholesterol, avoid the coconut oil. If that's not a problem, it's good for like the brain, those medium chain triglycerides. The other one for, and this is also true with the saturated fat, right? The bacon, where does olive oil sit? Olive oil is way up here on the good list. I just put olives, but olives and olive oil. Yeah, really good. Trans fatty acids they're actually made in a laboratory. They're not even like a real food that comes from the earth. So these are artificial fats that are used to extend the shelf life of products. Any like processed bakery item, pastries, cookies, donuts, muffins, like anything that is shelf stable is going to have trans fatty acids, should be labeled. And these are just really should avoid them. Like they're not even a real thing. If you're going to have some good fat, like have some bacon or have some butter that comes from an animal. But for the most part, if you can shift to like getting, more of your fat coming from these monounsaturated or polyunsaturated sources, it's going to be better for your overall health, even though the macros are going to look the same. Okay, cool. Any questions about that? That's a lot. Cool. Phoebe, thanks for sharing that about the your cardiologist. Because yeah, I've read both ways about the coconut oil, and I think it just sort of comes to knowing the pros and the cons. So I'm going to update this after our call. Okay, 2 more slides to get through. So if you need to get going, I just really have like 2 more slides. So I'll be recording this and you could catch it later, but I think this will probably take maybe 5 more minutes to wrap up. So alcohol, pros and cons. So here's the guide that I showed with you guys earlier. I like to talk about the pros and cons of food, and I was pressed to write the pros of alcohol. I was like, it can be fun in a social setting, right? Here's the one I really think, it can complement a great meal. So like steak with red wine or something like that. A lot of times people talk about antioxidants like red wine. Quite frankly, there's a lot better places to get antioxidants from, right? It can be a de-stressor, but like in the long run, it is not the best way to de-stress. So much better to like go for a walk, get some exercise, get a nap, something like that. Some people say that it helps them sleep. That is just a myth. It makes you drowsy, but when you drink, you tend to have not as good of sleep. So I didn't even put that one on the list. Okay, so here's the cons. Body sees alcohol as a toxin. And because of that, it slows down your metabolism because it puts the brakes on everything else that's already in your system so it can get this toxin out of your body. So if you have food you've been eating or eating afterwards, it's going to slow that down. So yeah, we're calculating the macros, but it's going to slow down our metabolism. Just like the flip side of maybe the macros of processed food versus unprocessed food might be the same, but the processed food's going to not affect it, but the unprocessed food is going to boost your metabolism. Opposite with the alcohol. Truly empty calories, whereas carbs and fat are definitely used for good. The alcohol doesn't really have any. It's like truly empty calories, plus all the bad decisions that come after the drinking, right? Like that it always sounds good to get appetizers and another drink and those hash browns the next morning. And then also dehydrating and leads to bad sleep. And then, another thing is it is a depressant. So, in a lot of like kind of like real woo-woo people say like, I don't drink because it lowers my vibe. It's a depressant. So it literally does lower your vibe and can, lead to other bad choices. So, my takeaway for you guys is nothing off limits. If you can make a drink or a couple fit your macros, cool, but just be fully informed and make the decision that's going to serve you best. And if you do, make sure you're drinking 1-for-1 with water. And then you could also get like a delicious go-to mocktail that you order, to switch it up. I've become the mocktail queen in the last couple months for obvious reasons. But I feel really good. I've been kind of drinking like less and less, over the last couple of years. And so switching to not drinking at all hasn't been a problem. So I'll share some of those ideas of, kind of like my go-tos with you guys. And I know summer's coming, patio season, but if you have like big goals of taking good care of yourself, drinking less is really going to help further those goals. Okay, any questions about that? Okay, cool. So last thing, should not be a surprise at this point, but these are the common foods that cause inflammation. They're common irritants in the body. They cause brain fog. They cause pain in our joints. They cause bloating and swelling. And they're all the things we've been talking about as not a lot of great benefits. They should already be in that 20% when you're looking at that 80-20 rule. But processed sugar, trans fats, or too much saturated fat, refined carbohydrates, like all the white stuff, white bread, white rice, white flour, everything versus like brown rice, whole wheat bread, quinoa, that kind of stuff. Alcohol, processed meats, and then omega-6 fatty acids, which we didn't really talk about yet. And then, two other, inflammation or common allergens are gluten and dairy. So if you feel like this is something you want to try, in addition to hitting your macros, it may be a good experiment to say like, which one or two of these things or all of them do I feel like I could eliminate for a week or two and just see how my body responds. If I eliminate dairy, how does my body respond? If I eliminate gluten, how does my body respond? And it's not necessarily like a lifetime thing, but it's just good information to know like, hey, I eliminated gluten and I really didn't see a difference. So I'm not really that sensitive to it. Or, vice versa, maybe you like eliminate processed sugar and you say, oh my gosh, my energy skyrocketed. Brain fog cleared up. I was thinking so much more clearly. I didn't stop having achy joints. So that is, just an option for anyone to do. And, just kind of, if you're doing that, I would love to hear about it, hear how it's going and what you're trying, but, just an idea of the way you could kind of take nourishing your body to the next level.
Annie, you mentioned quinoa, so that too is.
Quinoa is a great option. It's like a power food or a superfood or something. So if you've never had it, it kind of tastes like rice. It's a little bit like nuttier.
Oh no, I haven't. I thought you said that was included in the heavy trans, whatever.
Oh, no. That's like, I
Oh.
was saying like,
A good.
better, yeah, better carb
Okay.
options would be
good.
like
Because
brown
I've been
rice.
eating everything with quinoa. I'm
Yeah.
like,
No, quinoa is good. Quinoa, like super power food. If I
Okay.
was creating like the best meal on the planet for you guys, I would say salmon, quinoa, spinach, and blueberries.
oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it would be like top 5.
Okay.
Okay, you guys, sorry we went a little bit over time, but this has been, I think, a great call. I hope it's helpful for everyone. You guys are all doing amazing. I'm so proud of you. That was not a QAnon sign, by the way. Sorry, that was not a Q. We've been doing that.
Annie.
We've been
Don't
doing
worry
that in our
about
house as a joke. Oh my gosh. Okay, no,
If
you
you're a
guys are all
diver,
doing-
if you're a scuba diver, this means everything's great.
Yeah, it generally means like okay.
Right. I think you have to point your hands in different ways. I mean, it's like white power is one of these two. I'm a scuba diver, so that's okay.
Okay, so you guys are all doing awesome. I'm so proud of all of you. I got everyone's check-ins. If you didn't give me a check-in and you want to, I'll still look at it and send you some feedback. But for everyone who submitted it already, I will give you personalized feedback tomorrow. And just if you need anything, any questions come up over the week, just post them in the group and I'll answer them there. Okay, guys, thanks so much. Have a great night.
you.
Happy St. Patty's Day.
Have a good week.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, bye.